Jermaine and I this afternoon for now are delighted to introduce to you Giselle Culp and Grace Cook, who are joining us from the Foundation of Nursing Studies. So Giselle is a learning disability nurse who now works for FONS as a practice development facilitator. And Giselle and Grace are going to talk to us about resilience-based supervision and creating caring cultures.
As Marina said, I'll be co-presenting along with Grace for the next 30 minutes. So just to introduce myself, although Marina has done a fab job, my name is Giselle. I'm a very proud learning disability nurse by background, and I am working now with the Foundation of Nursing Studies, or FONS as we like to be called for short, as a practice development facilitator. And Grace, can I invite you just to briefly introduce who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Giselle. Hi, everyone. My name's Grace. I'm a mental health nurse by background, and I'm going to be starting at FONS soon as the Resilience-Based Clinical Supervision Programme Lead. And it's really good to be able to come here today to talk to you about some of the stuff we've been doing at FONS.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Grace. So kind of in keeping with this year's theme, friendship and relationships, and in particular through the pandemic, and, you know, keeping in how we work at FONS, we would like to firstly invite you to share with us a check-in so that we can see how everyone is feeling at the moment through our sheet check-in. We'd invite you to do this through the Mentimeter. Can people see the Mentimeter code and everything?
I've just shared it in the chat if people want to click on the link.
That's fantastic. So you've got 9 sheets to choose from, and it'd be fantastic to know kind of which sheet you're connecting to at the moment. And as you're doing that, I shall just talk a little bit about the kind of aims of our presentation. And I'm actually going to do a new share. During our presentation today, we're kind of aiming to share some of our programs of support and development, which have really brought together and connected learning disability nurses and learning disability and mental health student nurses. And, you know, we know there is a strong link between, you know, staff and nursing students feeling connected with each other, the organisations that they're in, and patient outcomes, staff wellbeing and patient experience. And firstly, Grace will share with you a programme of support and wellbeing that we have just recently undertaken with learning disability and mental health student nurses through a model of supervision, which is called resilience-based clinical supervision. And this began in January this year following the national lockdown. And then very much in brief, I will touch on and signpost you to a fabulous support and development opportunity for early career learning disability nurses, which is our Creating Caring Cultures Fellowship, which also started January this year. And as we move through our presentation, all of the information, all of our resources are, you know, easily and freely accessed through the website. So just having a quick look at the sheet check-in there. Oops, a daisy, I don't know why that's come up. It's looking like sheet number 4. 28%. Oh, okay. So just a little bit about who we are, just in case people aren't familiar. And missing from there is Grace, so we will need to update that, Grace, now that you've joined us. So FONS is a charitable organisation, and we work UK-wide and across all health and social care settings. We work with nurses, health and social care teams to really think about and develop and share innovative ways of working. We're a very small team, as you can see, and Grace has just recently joined us, but we are a highly skilled and productive organisation, and we've been working now with nurse-led teams for well over 30 years, leading on innovation, improvement and culture change in practice. And very much our website is our virtual centre for innovation, and that's where we share all of our programmes, information, tools and resources. So I'd really encourage you to have a look at the website and all the resources, and it includes also our International Practice Development Journal on there, which again is also freely accessible. I think I'm going to hand over to yourself, Grace.
Thanks, Giselle. So like Giselle said, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about resilience-based clinical supervision and a programme that we've recently done with learning disability and mental health student nurses. So this was a picture from our programme. So we were really kindly supported by HEE to offer a programme for resilience-based clinical supervision for 24 people, so student nurses from mental health and learning disability. Which we ran virtually. So everyone attended a masterclass together, which we spoke about the kind of theory behind clinical supervision and resilience-based clinical supervision. And then the people that attended then came to some resilience-based clinical supervision sessions with us and got also a chance to evaluate it themselves. So we did what's called a participatory evaluation. So the students that came to us were able to kind of put their points across and got a chance to try theming things as well as getting a lot of support. So I suppose to start with, it can help by kind of thinking about what is resilience-based clinical supervision. And rather than me telling you what it is, we've got a really lovely animation video that I'm going to hopefully share with you now.
Working as a healthcare practitioner is demanding, and everyday pressures affect the well-being of all of us. So listening and being considerate to staff is important in creating a caring workplace culture. Resilience-based clinical supervision can help. It focuses on our emotional response to everyday threats we all experience. These can be personal, relational, environmental, or organisational. Feelings and behaviours in response to situations are motivated by 3 systems. The threat system is underpinned by instincts to protect ourselves and seek out safety. Our drive system is connected to wanting, pursuing, or competing for a desired outcome. Finally, the affiliative system represents the non-wanting and content emotional system. These emotional systems have a role in enabling us to live meaningful and positive lives. Resilience-based clinical supervision helps us reflect and make choices about our response to these threats. The idea is to promote compassion to ourselves and to others. So what is resilience-based clinical supervision? Having consistent group membership and facilitator is important, with regular meetings for in-depth discussions. A group agreement to kick the group off includes crucial conditions for creating a safe place, plus decisions about how the group will function. Each subsequent resilience-based clinical supervision session begins with a grounding exercise, like paying attention to our breathing and bodies. This helps bring ourselves into the present moment. Grounding starts with the facilitator taking the lead, but over time, each one of us shares different techniques that work for us. After exploring experiences of the grounding exercises, the facilitator asks each member of the group to check in. It's a chance to discuss feelings we've experienced as a result of events, situations, or interactions at work. The check-in concludes with the group establishing common themes and priorities for discussion. Helping us reflect on the feelings each of us bring to the session in a number of different ways depending on personal styles and experiences is a key part of the facilitator's role. Despite the different styles the facilitator may take, they encourage everyone to consider questions that help us understand ourselves better. Sometimes the emotional system driving responses to situations results in a negative outcome. This is because our brains evolved from a time when there was physical danger and limited access to food and shelter. By understanding our response to situations, we can make different choices. Sometimes it's difficult to identify our feelings in response to a situation. And of course, often the behaviour of others seems unreasonable. So it's helpful to use the 3 emotional systems model to understand what might be driving their response too. Other members of the group can help as they're looking from the outside in. Each of these strategies enable us to empathise with others and again, make more conscious decisions about how we respond.
So I think that gives you a brief overview. That is, I suppose, the process of resilience-based clinical supervision. So one of the ways of accessing the affiliative system is by connecting with other people and accessing that peer support, which is very much linked into, you know, your theme for this week. And another way of accessing it is through the grounding, like the video said at the start. And this grounding or mindfulness is a really good way of kind of slowing down, taking that deep breath. So we thought it'd be really good to try a little grounding exercise now. If you don't want to do this, that's fine. Just ask that you sit quietly for a couple of minutes while the people that want to engage do. So if you want to make yourself comfortable, this could be sat on your chair or anywhere that feels comfortable for you. You may find it helpful to close your eyes, or if you prefer, to watch the video on the screen. Take a few moments to notice your breath. Notice what happens when you breathe in. So that was just a little, I suppose, sneak peek at what a mindfulness or a grounding exercise might look like. And there's different ones you can do. But in line with the theme of connection, loving kindness is lovely to send love to yourself and to others as well. The students that did resilience-based clinical supervision came to us with their evaluation. This is what the themes they came up with. And I suppose the most important thing to highlight is you can see that big connection there in the middle. And that was one of the most valued things. You know, students felt that they were in a safe and non-judgmental space where they could share and they could get a connection with other people that were in a similar situation, and peer support around that. Got some quotes here from what people said. So they spoke about kind of having a safe space and wanting something like resilience-based clinical supervision within their curriculum as well. And finally, the students did a gratitude wall as well, and they all put something on here that they felt grateful for in engaging with the programme. So a sense of belonging, as you can see there, some joyful connections, pride in our profession, which is important this week. This is what you're celebrating, and not feeling alone. Really powerful messages that we got from people. One of our students also wrote a blog, and we'll put the link in the chat box if anyone wants to read it, which was around kind of the peer support that they got and how this made them think about their situation in a different way. And these were the outcomes from our resilience-based clinical supervision programme. Like Giselle said before, if you want to know more, we'll put some links in the chat box, and there's lots and lots of information on the website. And I'm going to hand back over to Giselle now, who's going to talk a bit about the Creating Caring Cultures Fellowship, LD Fellowship.
Oh, thank you ever so much, Grace. I think my internet is still a little bit unstable, so hopefully you can still all hear me okay. So yeah, I was just going to spend just a couple of minutes just signposting to the Creating Caring Cultures Fellowship for Early Career Learning Disability Nurses, and that began this year in January. And the fellowship is very much building on the themes from Celebrate Me, which was an independent engagement initiative which we led on and we reported on in 2019, which was very much around capturing the voices of learning disability nurses and people who use services. And you will put the links, as Grace said, in the chat box so you can get access to that report if you have not seen it already. So the fellowship, the programme is also underpinned by FONS' work on creating caring cultures, and you can just about see on this slide, I think, the model. And the Creating Caring Cultures resources are based around a model in the form of a rainbow, because like rainbows, it's difficult to see and find the beginning and end of culture change. And each intention, as you see on the slide of the model, is explored during the fellowship. And details of what the fellowship offers, you can take a look at that on the slide as well. But it's very much a unique programme, which is, you know, its aspiration is to enable participants to really begin and think about their leadership journey by creating opportunities and space for reflection, discovery and learning. And, you know, the programme will equip participants with the skills and confidence to develop into the facilitative leaders of the future. And as part of that, there is inbuilt mentorship, both internally and externally as well. And, you know, together with the coaching support, you know, at local, regional and national, we will enable participants to think about their personal development planning, their career planning, and for participants to really think about their leadership aspirations and where they want to be in the future. So I've put this slide in because just linking back to kind of Grace's presentation on resilience-based clinical supervision, and that particular programme, you know, does feature within the fellowship, and it really does align beautifully with the focus that we have in the LD fellowship programme around enabling team working and staff wellbeing, kind of intention on the model. So just my little plug here. So if you may be interested in the fellowship, we do have places remaining on our remaining cohorts in September. I think we have 4 for the first cohort in September and about 11 for the second. So if you think it's for you or know of anyone that could benefit from such a programme, you know, do contact us or visit our website for more information. So, okay, so just thinking about going back to resilience-based clinical supervision, and I don't think we quite got to endings, did we, Grace, on the animation? But endings are an important part of the resilience-based clinical supervision process. And therefore each session would end with a statement of positive reflection or intent. And today we would really like to invite you to share via a Padlet. Grace, are you able to put the link into the chat box?
Yep, I've done that. So
well, thank you. And what we'd like you to share, and you don't have to put your name to it, or if you prefer to type it in the chat box and we can add it, that would be great. And we'd just like you to think about one action you will do today to show a friend that you are appreciative of them. And, you know, how would you do that? And it'd be lovely for you to share that on the Padlet or in the chat box, and then we can add that in a moment. So that'd be great. Just like to invite you all to check out. I'm going to launch the second question. So we're still getting people with buckets on their heads. Fantastic. Oh, and some jumping sheep. Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, we'll kind of screenshot those and send those back to you. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And I think that concludes our presentation.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Giselle and Grace. I think it's really wonderful to hear about the work that FONS do, and the support, I suppose, that's out there and available for all nurses, but in particular learning disability nurses. I think, as we've been talking about throughout the day, about the the kind of challenges that we've faced in developing and maintaining friendships and relationships with people with learning disabilities, but generally as well for all of us, how challenging this last year's been. And I think, knowing that support is there available, and the kind of structures and systems that are being put in place in various places, I think that's really, really great to hear. I suspect that many of those sheet number 4s with buckets on our heads were us as the organisers of the events today, with some of the technical challenges that this has presented to us. But yeah, I hope that many of those joyful jumping sheep are, in evidence as well. I love that. I think I might use a sheep sense check with my students. I think that's absolutely wonderful. Okay, hopefully I'm going to hand over to Jermaine now to introduce our next speaker, who has hopefully joined us.
So we have Helena Reid up next. She's the founder of Happily CIC, which is a friendships and dating project for people with learning disabilities. Happily are part of the Supported Loving Network, which is a human rights-based campaign and network who believe people with learning disabilities and or autism should be able to enjoy the same sexual and romantic freedoms as everyone else.
All right, yeah, thank you for letting me join. It's a topic I love talking about. It's a topic that's really close to my heart, and it's lovely to speak to people who kind of feel the same way about supporting adults with learning disabilities to have relationships. So I'm going to start off by talking about Happily and who we are and what we do, and how we support people with learning disabilities to have a relationship and friendships normally. And then look at how we've had to kind of change what we do during coronavirus, how we continue to support people during that time, and how we're trying to come out the other side and get people kind of socializing in a kind of normal way again. It's been quite a journey, quite a crazy year. So I'll just start off with what Happily is. So Happily is a project that I created back in 2017. And basically to join Happily, you just have to have a learning disability or autism and be over the age of 18. We're based in West London, so we support people living in that area at the moment. And it's a very personal project to me. It's run by family, mainly myself. My mum is also involved, but it's something that we started because of my younger sister, essentially, because my younger sister has learning disabilities, and it was through my personal experience of kind of watching her trying to form friendships, just realizing how and feeling very frustrated for her about the lack of opportunities for her to meet new people, make new friends, but also to date in a safe way. And I felt very frustrated for her, and that's why I started Happily. Initially, when we were younger, it started off with, her being like, oh, can I be friends with your friends, Helena? And I'd be like, no, get your own friends. Typical older sister. But, as we got older, I just realized she just didn't have the same opportunities, and she needed support, which is what Happily is all about. So, yeah, she's a member and benefiting from the project, which is what we're all about. So just to explain about how we work, it's not like online dating, Tinder, or dating websites. It's completely personal to people joining, and we want to support people along the way, and we want to make sure that safety is really important. So we have an initial consultation meeting at the beginning. That's where we really get to know our member, talk about any support needs, whether they travel independently, have they had any relationships before, has there been any incidences of abuse, unfortunately, anything we need to know, personal things like that, so that we can really support them along their journey. It's really useful to kind of check ID and talk through how we work during that meeting. So that's very important at the beginning. and it's quite difficult to write your own dating profile. So we take that out of our members' hands and we write a profile for them, just very short and sweet, bit of information about them, but no personal information, just so we can share that with our members. And this is not online, this is very old school, in fact. So it's just through me and my team of volunteers, sending profiles directly through to members, but also people who support them. So maybe it could be that their parents or siblings are helping, or support staff are helping. So everyone's involved along the way. And then that's when the exciting stuff happens. So once we've written your profile for our members, we then help setting up meetings. We send suggestions to people we think might match with them. And if those people match, we'll set up a meeting. And I think we sometimes take it for granted, you know, exactly how much organisation goes into setting up a meeting or a date, but it can be quite a lot of hard work. There's big decisions you have to make, you know, where are we going to meet, what are we going to do? So we're there for our members. We might suggest good places to be or interesting things, particularly during coronavirus, things that you could do safely. So maybe a game of mini golf or something like that. And we always make sure when people are meeting for the first time that there's a chaperone there as well, to make sure that people can meet without sharing personal information like their mobile numbers, hopefully have a good time, and then think about if they want to share their information afterwards. And that's something that we support with as well. So here's some lovely pictures of our happy members having fun with friends, or having a date, just having a coffee. As well as this kind of introduction side, we also do extra things, like we have events, we have tea parties, we have also done workshops about sexual health and relationships. I think it's really important when you're introducing people together that you continue to provide information about sexual health, because a lot of people had that information presented back at school and then maybe haven't put it into practice, and then have opportunities to meet people. So it's always good to have a refresh of that kind of information whilst you're meeting new people. So that's a bit of a background of how Happily works generally pre-COVID. And then during COVID, we've had to completely change how we operate, as has a lot of other projects, but it's been really interesting. So I'll show you what we've been up to, and then can look at some case studies at how our members have felt during that time, during the pandemic. So lots of pictures of people on Zoom to you on Zoom. So this is something we're very familiar. As soon as COVID started, we found that we had to get people online, get people on Zoom, to get people to talk. And this was challenging for a lot of us, but it was also quite challenging for people with learning disabilities as well, who haven't had to use Zoom before. So we spent initially, as soon as the pandemic hit, a lot of time getting our members feeling comfortable with being on Zoom, and just set up, and not only Zoom, but just comfortable using video calls, just pointing out ways that they could stay connected, which might sound quite obvious, but I think it's worthwhile pointing out that our members did need that support. So for example, there was a couple who I'll talk about later who had just started dating, and they just didn't know how to stay connected at the beginning of the pandemic. So we were just saying, you could do a video call. It's his birthday, why don't we set up a video call for his birthday? And it was literally us kind of setting that opportunity up that made it possible for them to keep in touch during the pandemic. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but there was a lot of time spent on Zoom, and you can see here we weren't just sitting around shooting the breeze. We're doing a lot of stuff on there. So we set up a program. It's been a long time. We've been doing this for 15 months now. We set up a program of activities that we could all do together as a group. So we had a men's group, we had a women's group, we also had a mixed group where we did a lot of quizzes. You can see on here we did some baking. We did a chocolate mug cake that you can make in 2 minutes in the microwave, which is very dangerous. And so we did that together. So you can see at the bottom there, we were celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Someone's dyed their hair green. A lot of dedication going on. We also partnered with other organisations to do crafting, making some signs there and upcycling some signs and doing some painting together. So that was really wonderful. So these online social groups were new. For that, we had just focused on introducing people kind of one-to-one or in small groups in person, but we never had like an online community like this. So this was really lovely because it was the first time our members could all see each other in one space and get to know each other in a different way, which was really successful, as you can see. Amazing. 100% of participants said that they found it a positive experience during lockdown. And we know that because in a lot of cases, interacting with friends through the Happily Project was sometimes people's only social interaction outside of their family support staff. So it was seriously important for some of our members. And I think we just realised just how important our project was during the pandemic for some of our members, particularly circumstances. So the online socials were really great. This is just an example of one of our members, Matthew, who had a particularly difficult time during the last year. So he was a member, unfortunately, he lost his father during the pandemic last year, so he was feeling understandably devastated. He was living in supported living, so he was seeing his family occasionally, but he kind of wanted to have the community of having friends around him. So he was joining our online socials, and it was a safe space for him to share how he was feeling about his dad, but also just to have fun and laugh as well. And that was lovely to see him. He'd just show up and just know that he could talk about how he's feeling and have a good time and feel sad. So he joined. He was supported by his brother sometimes, who's written something really nice here. He said the Happily sessions have been unbelievable for Matt during the past year and a half. He looks forward to them so much and loves chatting with everyone. For 3 days before, we'll be talking about it coming up non-stop. Happily volunteers do an amazing job hosting them and making sure everyone, one of the big highlights for Matt and a difficult year for him, and he comes off the calls absolutely buzzing, which is lovely to hear. So yeah, Matt agrees. He says they're really good, really fun, and I love catching up with everyone. So yeah, he enjoys the quizzes. So that's good to hear that it's not been easy. You know, running these online social groups have been completely different for us. I'd like to say that everyone comes on smiling all the time. It's not been like that. There's been times during the groups where people have felt frustrated, obviously, not being able to meet. So, you know, the groups have been an opportunity for people to kind of talk about feeling upset, feeling scared, feeling unsure, but also being able to reassure each other through having a sense of community on the group. So I'm just going to show you two examples of a couple who met before coronavirus and then a couple who met during coronavirus, because I think it's just been really interesting to see those kind of two relationships happen during this time. So this first example is Alex and Lucy, and basically Alex and Lucy met year before coronavirus, just in August, I think. Yes, in August 2019, and they were just getting going. So they were off to a really good start. They'd been on a couple of dates before. They'd had some really nice times. They'd met each other's parents. They're getting really close and really enjoying hanging out. And then coronavirus happened. And I mentioned earlier, once COVID happened, they were just unsure how to stay in touch. So we got them linked up on Zoom and doing video calls and WhatsApp and made sure they were in touch regularly. They also both took part in our Happily online social groups as well. So that meant that they could have chats with each other privately, but they could also hang out with each other in a group and feel like they've done something. So there was a lack of things to do, so they could do a bingo night together with friends. So that was nice. You know, but despite having these opportunities, which helps both of them during a difficult time, it was still really difficult. So Lucy was saying she found it really difficult. We have regular phone calls and talk on WhatsApp, but we're really missing each other. And you know, that's really sad to hear. But what's lovely is that we've supported them through the experience, and they've kind of since met up, and they blossomed during that time, because they're still together and the relationship's really strong, which is really brilliant. So yes, just going on with Alex was also struggling. He says, I've seen very few people outside of my bubble during this time, and I do miss being a sociable person. I really do miss Lucy so much during lockdown. We've had a good relationship going on, and it's been very tough not being with her. Been chatting lots, but it's not the same. And I think we can all relate to that feeling. Like, we all really missed our family and friends, just not physically being able to be with them. But I can genuinely feel from our members that everyone appreciates each other a lot more now, and there's a real excitement about meeting up in person. So very exciting. So on this Sunday, we're having a group happily picnic for the first time. It's the first big group meeting we've had. We've had to limit it because of restrictions on numbers, but yeah, so there'll be about 30 people, a couple of volunteers, happily members, and yeah, I've been having a lot of calls with people. They're so excited. We've been, you know, chatting to each other for a year, and we finally get to meet in person. So a lot of excitement for that. It's going to be absolutely crazy on Sunday. So that was an example of maintaining a relationship during COVID. And this is an example of Ruby and James, who just met during lockdown. So that's quite a tricky way to meet someone. So Ruby actually joined happily during coronavirus. So her first experience of meeting our members was online through Zoom. So she joined our online social groups. She met some nice female friends, and she also spotted James in our group online social group. So we suggested that both of them meet up and go for a distance walk. This was the time when you could. So they've been going for distance walking dates, kind of chaperoned by both their parents and walking their family dogs, which was really nice. And they've been dating throughout the year, basically, through coronavirus, and they've really enjoyed it, and they've been really pleasantly surprised as well. So neither Ruby or James had been in a relationship before. They said to me, I don't know how to be in a relationship, and it's quite a difficult thing to answer, how to be in a relationship, but it's something that they've kind of just learned together, just through their walks during coronavirus. I think, yeah, that's what Ruby says here. I didn't know how to be in a relationship before, but now I am. I'm just so happy I found James. Yeah, James, who was very nervous before about actually going on a date, kind of naturally found that he was meeting up with Ruby, and that the walks were very relaxed. And he says time just goes really quickly when we're together, which is really nice to hear. I think another thing to point out here is that we're not just supporting our members. There's also some kind of benefits here to family members, siblings as well. So it was a kind of load off James's mum's mind to see Ruby and James out socializing, and James's mum also saw positive effects in James's language as well, which was something I wasn't expecting, and was really nice to hear. So she said his social life has actually blossomed in lockdown. I think his confidence in use of language has also improved with all these new opportunities to talk to people. So that is just wonderful to see how positively it's affected him. It's also nice to see that James's mum is quite relieved, because she feels that she doesn't have to be so in control of her son's social life, and he can have a level of independence as well, which is healthy for him. So she says, happily has been a wonderful help and has taken the organisation of his social life completely out of my hands, which has been a relief during this time, you know, because I'm sure she was going through a lot herself. So the fact that James is independent and having a good time. So finally, I wanted to shout out to our volunteers who are mostly learning disability nurses. We've had amazing volunteers who've been supporting us during this time, many of which of them have been virtual volunteers. So I've actually only met 2 of our volunteers and we have about 10 at the moment. And they've been brilliant. They've been running the online social groups throughout the year. So they've been the ones doing the quizzes, helping with the chocolate mug cakes, and they've been incredible. So here's just a little shout out to Molly and Julia, who've been with us for months and months and months. So thank you, all you learning disability nurses who are doing such a good job. So yes, there's opportunities to volunteer with us if you're interested. And I think I'll leave it there. Yes, so that's just an explanation of what we've been doing, and I hope that's been interesting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Helena. That was really interesting. And I loved those 2 stories, those you know, examples of people kind of maintaining their relationship and also being able to develop a new relationship during this time. I think that was absolutely wonderful. And I you know, I obviously happily do such an important job and have such an important role in supporting the members in developing and maintaining those relationships. Does anybody have any questions? We have a few minutes if anybody would like to ask Helena any questions, or I think we have had a couple of comments in the chat box just saying you know, what you're doing is absolutely wonderful, and you know, just the benefits of that work I think are very apparent.
Oh, thank you. I saw someone says, how do you apply to volunteer? And you can, oh sorry, that's a direct message to me, sorry.
Hi, my name's Rebecca. I was just wondering, is it limited to area or is it widespread over London?
So at the moment it's based in West London, in 9 West London boroughs. So yes, there's a list of the boroughs that we're based in on our website, but if they're nearby boroughs, this is very complicated, it's a complicated answer. If they're nearby boroughs, we're currently looking for heterosexual women to join our project, so we are looking slightly further afield than our West London base. If that answers your question.
Oh no, that's amazing. I've got the details, so I'll be having a look. It sounds great.
Oh, brilliant.
Sounds really amazing.
And I am aware that there are a number of other kind of organisations and agencies that do similar things, that cover other areas in London as well. So you know, I think it is just a case of yeah, finding somewhere local, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
I think there's some online. I think there's like there's online. There's My Favourite Hello. But other than that, in London, we're the only project. So it's, yeah, the more the better, the more the merrier. Yeah, but yeah, it's limited support.
Absolutely.
It's just in the placement that I'm currently in, they've started a sex and relationship workshop, and that's got quite a lot of interest. And I know that a lot of people with learning disabilities just don't have the opportunity to meet people. So it just sounds incredible what you're doing. So I'll definitely be having a look for more things like that as well.
Thanks, Becca.
I'll probably be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to now hand over to Jess, and Jess is going to share with us another film. So this film has been produced by students, pupils at the Queen Elizabeth II Silver Jubilee School in Horsham. And this is a school that caters for pupils aged 2 to 19 with severe, profound and multiple learning difficulties. And many of the pupils also have other additional needs, including communication needs. And they've really kindly created this video for us of their students talking about friendships. And there's input into this video from over 1/3 of the students in the school. and almost all of the camera work and presenting has been done by students. And in particular, the opening shot was taken by a student using their tripod mount attached to their wheelchair, which I just think is absolutely wonderful. So Jess, if you could share that with us now, please. Thank you.
Here at QE2 School in Horsham, we have been thinking about what friendship means to us. We've asked lots of students across the whole school what they thought. Here is what they said.
Hey. Hey, Lucy. I'm your friend. No. Hey, Billy. Lucy. Do you mind? Do you mind? Friends make me happy.
Friends make me happy. I like to gossip with my friends.
Hi, I love my friends and I love to play with them and I love to dance with my girlfriend and I love playing football with my friends.
Dancing with my friends. Waterloo making me so happy.
Yeah, but blue and say. Really say buddy. Happy.
I can talk to my friends about my problems.
Hello, darling. I play with my friends. We play table tennis, dancing, and happy.
As for what friends make me feel, what we do like to do together is go on a Pokemon journey and watch BFDI, number blocks, Inanimate Insanity, etc. on YouTube.
Friendship is magical, just like my friends Sam, because we are on the same bus.
And do you friends make happy?
Yeah.
My friends make me happy and they make me laugh. My girlfriend makes me happy and she's cheeky and make me laugh as well.
Friendship to me is about liking the same things in common and being excited to see your friends while they enter school.
What I like about my friends is that I can just go out with my friends, have a really good time, and we just have a really good banter and laugh about anything, and we just have a great laugh.
I like to play with my best friend Claire outside the playground. I like to play with my friends at the playground and make me so happy to play with them because they're so kind to me.
It makes me happy.
My friends make me happy.
Friends make my friends happy.
You have to be kind to your friends, and if they're sad, you can go up to them and help them out.
How does it make your friends feel?
Happy.
Does it make you happy? And what else?
Excited.
Excited, and what else?
Very happy.
My friends make me feel happy.
My friends make me feel happy and loved. My friends always argue and annoy me, but we can
It's all good stuff out there and it makes us happy.
Friends with Callum, because we like playing together. I am friends with Katie, but I love Katie.
Well, how does your friends make you feel?
We laugh and we watch music, because when funny bit come on we would laugh at it all the time. It's so much fun. And I was just saying to her.
Friends are family to me because it feels like they're really close to me.
Friends are important because you can hang out with them out of school, or you can play football with them or play some games. Friendship's good when I'm happy when they ask would you like to play a game on the Xbox.
I like playing with my toys with my friends and colouring in with my friends.
Actually, was friends good then? Good friends are good then because of they help you.
I like watching videos with Jamie. I like playing on the consoles. And it's fun.
I like chatting to the other classes. I like playing with my friends on the pirate ship. Playing with my friends make me happy.
Have a good time with friends, make me happy, play football and go to pub together.
Friends.
Do you like to see your friends?
Yeah.
Do your friends make you happy?
Yeah. Oh.
They make you laugh?
Yeah. Like a play make me happy. Me happy. Good. Bye-bye.
There you go, that's a little snapshot of some of the pupils at the school, and the majority of them I've actually worked with.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jess. That was just absolutely brilliant. I think the students there said things far better than any of us could. So I'm just going to hand back to Jermaine to introduce our final speaker.
Jonathan Beebe, he's the new lead for learning disabilities and learning disability nursing at the Royal College of Nursing.
I've been in for part of the event, and the bit I've seen, I have to say, what an amazing event. It's been really inspiring, I'm sure, for everyone the day. Thank you for inviting me along, and thank you to everyone who's contributed for today. That last video as well, that was brilliant, really powerful. Really good topic for the event as well, about friendships and relationships, and that video really summed it up, didn't it? I think every single child there was saying how important friendships and relationships are, and something I've seen looking at the people we support is some people with learning disabilities have really struggled during this pandemic with the lockdown and the changes it's made to their structure and routine and their ability to meet with their friends and their families, and to how they've been missing out on some of those really close contacts. We also know some people with learning disabilities have thrived in not having the pressure of having to maintain those contacts as well. And that video just really reminded me that, you know, even if someone has a social anxiety, if they find having those social interactions difficult, they're still probably really important to them. So it may seem as though they're a lot more relaxed now, they've not got all these social pressures and things to do, but it's going to be so important and quite challenging, I'm sure, to start reintroducing meeting people again and going back into the community and having social engagements again. So thank you. So yeah, I'm the new professional lead for learning disabilities in the Royal College of Nursing. Some of you will be very familiar with Annie Norman, who was my predecessor. She retired last week. She'd been doing the role for 15 years and she's done a great job. She's been a great ambassador for learning disability nursing, and huge shoes to fill. The only chance I've got of doing anywhere near as good as she did is with all of your support. So I need your friendships and your relationships to take our work forward. And on the same theme, the Royal College of Nursing published a report on learning disability nursing on Tuesday, and it's called Connecting for Change. So again, connecting as in connecting as a friendship. If you've seen the report yet, I don't think there'll be many surprises for learning disability nurses in it. A lot of the information in there is things we've known about for a long time. So we know people with learning disabilities face huge health inequalities. The support they get is not just at all in any way, shape or form. I had the pleasure of attending an all-party parliamentary group on disability 2 weeks ago. And it was organised by Harrow Mencap. They're running a campaign at the moment called Learning Disability Nurses, Not Hearses. And they shared the story of Laura Booth. And Laura, you may know, she was a young lady with learning disabilities that was admitted to a general hospital in Sheffield. They'd got no learning disability nurse expertise there. And the doctors and nurses did the best they could, I'm sure, but because they didn't understand how she communicates, they didn't understand her learning disability needs. She was malnourished, they weren't able to communicate with her effectively, and ultimately they weren't able to treat her, and she died whilst in their care. And that's the sad reality, is people with learning disabilities are dying because they're not getting the right treatment or support. The latest learning disability mortality review showed 50% of deaths in learning disabilities are either preventable or treatable. And we've got a real postcode lottery going on with learning disability services, and acute liaison is a good example. So you could go to my local hospital, Southampton General, and they've got a team of 3 learning disability nurses, or you can go to Sheffield and they've got none. And you'll find all variations of that across the country. There's no consistency. So the Connecting for Change report, it sets out the Royal College of Nursing's commitment to learning disability nursing, what we're going to do to support the profession going forward. And it outlines our call for the government administrations across the 4 countries of the UK about what we want to see happen. So some of the government actions are looking at how we get more standardisation in the support that's available for people with learning disabilities, and how we get a clear career framework for learning disability nurses to embed where learning disability nursing skills are needed. We've seen that the number of learning disability nurses employed by the NHS has dropped considerably, particularly in England. Over the last 10 years, it's dropped by about 40%. But we know at the same time as that, the number of learning disability inpatient beds has dropped as well quite significantly. It's very likely that a lot of learning disability nurses that were working in health are now working in social care. So we need a strategy for learning disability nursing that spans across health and social care settings, with a clear career framework for where they want our skills to be. And this is where our Connecting for Change bit comes in, really, because we've got the expertise, we know where our skills are being used, and we know what we can bring. So the Royal College of Nursing have recently released a number of tools that can help us with this. There is the competency framework template, where they've used that to outline what competencies nurses need in certain settings. So we can use that for various aspects of learning disability nursing. I can see us using it to say, this is what you need for competency if you're a learning disability nurse in a general hospital, or this is what you need as a learning disability nurse if you're practicing in positive behaviour support in an intensive support team, or even if you're a learning disability nurse working in a social care setting, these are the skills you need as a learning disability nurse working there. So we can set those standards. We can say, as learning disability nursing, this is the competencies we expect. We can get them ratified by the RCN, and then they're cemented, and that forms part of the career framework. The other thing that the Royal College of Nursing have published recently is the nursing workforce standards, and that says about what level of nursing support is needed for safe and effective care for the people we support. It's hard for a lot of learning disability nursing practice to predict that, because we're not bed-based services, we don't have shift patterns with everything we do, but it provides a framework that can be applied to any practice setting working alongside any legislation and policy and guidance, and we can use it to give us the language we need to articulate this is the level of nursing support that we need in each setting. So I think the launch of the Connection for Change report provides lots of opportunities for us to work together, to collaborate, to connect for change, and to make a real difference. I need to settle in a little bit. This is my first week in the job, but my plan is to look at how I can engage locally with learning disability nurses. So I expect I will be trying to arrange some workshops with you all to think about what are we going to do to take this forward to the next step. It'll be through the RCN Learning Disability Nursing Forum to look at if we can set up some small working groups with all nurses about how we can work on competency standards and get them ratified through the RCN. But also just to hear what else you need as a profession and how we can support you going forward. The Royal College of Nursing is member-led, and we're nothing without your voices and your support. That's it from me, really. I wanted to introduce myself and introduce the report. Thank you all for inviting me along today, and thank you to all the presenters and the organisers for an amazing event. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jonathan. So we have one final little thing left to do, which is Daniel is going to share another Menti, and we would like everybody to write one word to kind of sum up today, sum up how this afternoon and this event has been for you. Before that, I have also put in the chat a link to an evaluation form, which we really would appreciate if everybody can fill in. So I can see some responses coming in here. I like that that's there in the middle, uplifting, proud, inspirational, heartwarming, and that's really nice to hear. But we do hope that this afternoon has given you some food for thought and some ideas and inspiration about how we as learning disability nurses, as other people working in the field of learning disabilities, and of course our students here at Kingston, and we were hopefully joined as well by some of our prospective students in September, because you are really the future of our profession. You're the future of learning disability nursing. And when myself and Daniel and the rest of the team are long since retired, you're going to be carrying on, carrying the torch for learning disability nursing, and really out there providing that support for people and working in partnership with people with learning disabilities and their families and those that support them to ensure that they can lead safe and happy and fulfilled lives.